My e34 is one thing above all, terrifyingly slow. Yeah, it does take around 15 to 17 seconds for it to go up to 100 km/h, which is a lot. To remedy this shortcoming, we'll install an intercooler on my non-intercooled turbo diesel. The intercooler is already installed. The reason for that is, well, the first time I installed it, I unfortunately still had the issues with the flywheel, with the hot start, with the crank position sensor. Since then, all of that has been fixed. You can check those videos out if you want to, but now let's continue. Also, back then I only installed the intercooler and didn't go with a chip, but even then the car had an insane amount of power compared to before. So this time I will be installing an upgraded chip onto the ECU and we'll up the boost. First order of business is to remove the front bumper. And it's off. And there we already have the intercooler. Painted it black so it's less visible, but we'll have to remove it since I had it open for the past 3 months. Yeah, I think there's water in there. I just drilled holes through this support right there and bent some metal tabs. That thing is fairly sturdy, so all good. And I have mounted it before the climate condenser. The AC ain't working anyways, so I think I'll just take it out today, because that gives me a bit more room to move it to the back, and then I have less issues with clearance. Furthermore, there's no real way to route it there or through there, because on the TDs, the oil cooler sits on that height. If you had a TDS, it would be really easy to just skip the oil cooler, and if you have the AC deleted, go straight up to there, which does not work on my car. This forced me to do the routing as follows. I just used the 90 to go there and went under the cross support. And that only worked because my car, as you can see, it's not that low, and I do pay quite a bit of attention when driving over bumps and other stuff. So I usually don't scratch it, because having pipes there, well, the ramp angle is greatly reduced. Next season though, I'll have to convert it to the TDS intercooler, because I want the car way lower, approximately to this height, so another 3 centimeters. Another 3 centimeters here equals 3 centimeters here, which is quite low. I also painted most of these pieces black, so it's stealthy. And I did hammer it down a bit. Unfortunately, that left me with an issue. The clamps I ordered have this curvature right here, which guides the clamp. So yeah, because I did flatten them down a bit, I tried getting them back into the original shape, but that didn't work out too well. They were a lot more narrow, so I couldn't get it to seal, which is exactly what you heard on the burnout video. There's squealing from the tires and a very high-pitched noise coming from the air escaping through the silicone coupler and the clamp. So I bought some different style clamps, high quality stainless steel. Yeah, I hope these will do the job, because they don't have that guiding, so I can clamp it down further, ensuring a proper seal. Before turning up the boost though, we'll be installing a boost solenoid. This was just a cheap one, so I doubt it's going to be accurate, but it can give us a nice indication if boost falls off. I think we're going to end up at 1.3, 1.4 bars. I have seen posts on the internet where people just turn the thread on the wastegate so far that they end up with 1.5, 1.6 bars, but I don't want to push it. So I'll try to add boost until it stops smoking a lot and then back it off a tiny bit. Now we're going to take out the condenser. For environmental reasons, you're not allowed to just vent the gases to atmosphere, and despite the system not working, I have had it checked by a professional to confirm that it is indeed empty, which it is, so now we're safe to proceed. Then there is one screw right there and one right there. I just ended up pulling it out towards the front, and it doesn't surprise me that the AC wasn't working anymore. This thing is beat. And this is the main difference between TD and TDS. The TD has an oil cooler right there. The TDS has its intercooler right there, and then a different oil cooler in front of the rad pack. And on a TDS, you could just remove the intercooler, the condenser, and then you could run a pipe straight through here and have no issues. I, however, can unfortunately not do that. A quick round of cleaning later, it looks way better. I also sealed the high and low pressure lines, really nice. Taped some special tape around it and then a zip tie for good measure. That should seal nice. I'm gonna remake these brackets so that the intercooler sits back further. Now bend them in an S shape and no longer U-shaped. I have removed the charge pipe, that's super easy, so I didn't show it. But another thing I've always asked myself is how can I make the transition from the turbo to the intercooler? Because the turbo has a very small size, I think it is 51 millimeters, but I have 55 millimeter tubing because I never found 51 millimeter tubing. And it's actually quite funny, the inlet to the EGR is 56 millimeter and the charge pipe 51 millimeter. So the stock 90 degrees band fits perfectly, literally just like that. And it comes out on the perfect angle. I just have to make the ground cable a bit higher and then we're good. It's literally crazy because it fits like as if it was meant to be there. Quite funny. The inlet side to the intercooler is a bit trickier than the outlet, but I have cut this part because otherwise it would have touched there, which I don't want. And then I can use like a 45 to get it somewhat straight-ish. Then I just have to see with clearance to the bumper. I think I'm gonna put 3 millimeters of spacers onto the studs, which makes the bumper sit outwards 3 millimeter. Not optimal. It may look a bit goofy right here or around the headlights, but I doubt anyone will notice. I finished it. Here we have 190, some couplers, a straight piece, and then another 90. That 90 goes to a coupler, to a modified 45 that goes into the intercooler. That side comes from the turbo. Also modified 45, a few couplers, a straight piece, all the way to the stock adapter. I know it does not look pretty, but I'm just trying to have a few weeks fun with this setup because eventually I'll go to the stock TDS setup and then retrofit the stock TDS ECU because I wanted to do the rear subframe mounts and I found a few rusty spots that I would rather address sooner or later. So I'll drive the car till the technical inspection runs out in April, and then yeah, the car will come off the road and get new seals and part of the underbody replaced. So yeah, major work coming. And now we just have to see how we can fit the bumper on, because right here there's not going to be a lot of space. We do have a bit more space than last time because we removed the condenser, but I think I'm just going to shim a few millimeters on here and hope that it fits. If you think this is a hack job, well, I have to agree, but it's just temporary. I even managed to get the bumper on. Last time I did this, the bumper wasn't fitting anymore. To do this setup, the condensator needs to be removed because otherwise it is going to touch here. Right now, it is not touching on the intercooler. On this side, the coupler is pinched a bit, which is an acceptable trade-off. On this side, however, it is pinched a bit more. Yeah, I don't like it, but at the same time, it's not too bad. I do not want to cut the bumper right here because I have these plates for here. They just don't fit because of this. It is either cut the bumper or accept that this coupler will be done in a few weeks/months. So yeah, I'd rather destroy the coupler than the bumper. I believe it was this one that we need to change. On the new one, the numbers should be written on there. So 355406, it was indeed this one. And also there's this little notch in one end which we have to orient the chip to. The new chip needs to go on like this because there's a little notch right there, which is also in this chip. Just go under from the front and slightly lever it up. Very gently, I would always suggest keeping the stock chip in case you want to go back, and then install the new chip the same way. Just push it in and then clips it back, just like that. And now we can reassemble everything. And now the most important question: does it still start? Immediately. Great. Now we just need to go and check on some times and see if it is actually faster, which it most definitely is. Oh boy, what a difference! This was 15 seconds, and just shaving off 5 seconds from 0 to 100 is quite impressive. But in the first clip, I had an empty tank. This time, however, I just filled up with diesel, so I had an extra 80-70 kgs in the fuel tank. Furthermore, I had another friend on the passenger seat, so we were 5 seconds quicker with 150 kgs extra weight in the car. That's just incredible. I'm truly impressed. Now the car is actually fun to drive, and you can just merge along with traffic because it's no longer that slow that you have to floor it every single time you're trying to go in front of another car or something. It was just dangerously slow. Now it is in a way better position. Now I wanted to start working on the E9, but my brother had a different idea. Well, while tossing the car around, he blew the engine, so yeah, it's done for and needs replacement. I am already looking for a spare engine, so the next video will unfortunately be E46 related. But yeah, this car is not going to drive for the next year. The E46 needs to drive next week, so I have to hurry up. Thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, you know what to do. But most importantly, just keep wrenching.